the big story of the Bible is God sending a Savior. And it starts with some imperfect people, namely, it starts with two imperfect people in the garden sinning, but then that plan really starts to take shape in Abraham. And then through Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and then they have to grow into a nation, and Moses leads them out. I mean, God is bringing to His Messiah to this earth to deliver us, and so that whole story fits together. And so sometimes you may have you got the whole Old Testament of Israel and how they might have had a king, and that king was terrible. Well, they followed after other gods, and it just is pointing the picture of God's faithfulness, and God is going to be faithful to what He said He was going to do.
Well, I think kind of tying up this point, the one note that I haven't really covered on this is that I said that I heard a lot, God's grace is sufficient. And I think that's a really, obviously that's a biblical truth, and it's great. But to say it, and again, it goes back to real versus feel, or what am I saying and versus what am I really feeling, right? I can say God's grace is sufficient. Right. I can do all the actions. I can go through all the motions. I can do all those things. But honestly, for you to really in your heart know and experience that God's grace is sufficient, sometimes you got to get taken to a point where God's grace is all you got.
And believe He's going to meet me in the morning with it, because His mercies are new every morning. And so when I'm weeping in the night, to know that joy comes in the morning, to know that His mercies are going to meet me, again, that goes back to, do you really believe what He told you? And my question is, why wouldn't you? At the same time, if you find yourself in a difficult enough position, I can see where I can see where I couldn't.
Yeah, I've been there before, where the darkness of the midnight, of hours and hours, and couldn't go to sleep, and just in a depressive state, and thought that I'd never get over it. And I thought, but God pulled me through. But now that I'm on the other side, I can see why. Oh, now I know why I went through that. I went through that because I can help people that have gone through that. And so,
yep.
But did I enjoy it?
2 Corinthians 1.
I didn't even think I'd make it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then now I can encourage and push people along that are going through that thinking the same way. There were times when I couldn't even get out of bed. The only thing I wanted to do at one time was just, and it went on for a couple of years, just to lay down. I had no energy. I was in a miserable state. My mind was being worked over by the enemy, and that's not a good place to be in. But then God, in His mercy, delivered me almost overnight. But I was in a state of depression, state of mind for about a couple of years at least.
And when let me ask you both something on that. So, when you're going through challenging times, and again, that can mean so many different things, or so many different curveballs and stuff that life can throw at you.
Financial, physical, social, mental.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I've seen so much of that from just around me, things that I go through, things that I see other people going through, and there's so many times that you don't. I hate to say it this way because it's absolutely not the right way to say it, but from a human standpoint, you can understand how some days they just want to throw the towel in and say, I can't do it today. I'm going to stay in bed. I can't do it. But at the same time, if you're in that spot and you have a real belief and a real relationship with God, you're still going to have those days where it's just, man, even though it may be working all together for good, and you know that you have faith, but there's going to be some days that's going to be easier than others.
Yeah, and harder than others. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And on those days that it's harder, do you think that there's a part of me that just says, you know what, I don't care how much you seek God, how much you believe, how strong your faith is, the human part of you is going to make that inevitable, that you're going to have some days where it gets the best of you, right?
I can believe that. His
grace is sufficient, but you're still human, and you're still going to miss His grace, and you're going to miss His heart at times.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's other times that I say, okay, but if you found yourself in a rut where you've been, weeks and months on end of not being able to find Him and spot Him and feel that love with Him, maybe there's something that you can do differently, but at the same time, now we're back to what can I do? Right. It's not about what I can do, it's what He can do. So I guess for situations out there where you are having a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, what do you do in those situations?
Well, what I did was I just come to the conclusion that God don't lie and He don't change.
Yeah. Perfect. No. I'm liking where I'm picking up what you're laying down.
All I wanted was relief. And over time, I would pray, but I wasn't getting any answers. I was praying, I was getting, when is this gonna, I had to finally take God at His word and just, that's it. Just take Him at His word. He don't lie, And there's too much, in my mind, too much proof that there is a God. A lot more than we came from apes or, Big Bang Theory. I mean, that is the most
Or you're just
weirdest
some
thing.
cosmic accident.
Yes, and so I knew Jesus had come to die. That's historical. That's a fact. That's been proven. I know this word that we have here hasn't changed, because it's not like the telephone game when you hear something and 30 people down the road,
Right.
down there, later is something different. No, we get to read that word and we come back and read the same word and we come back and read the same word. So the word hadn't changed.